You'd have to be living under a rock not to know who Johnny Depp is. These days, our favorite Caribbean pirate is making major headlines, and not because of his decades-long career or his million-dollar movies, but because he's suing his ex-wife Amber Heard for abuse and defamation. And the stories that have come from the trial are quite dramatic, if we were to put a word to them. The Depp vs. Heard trial gave us an inside look at both the celebrities' personal lives, friendships, their substance abuse and mental health problems, and an astounding level of domestic abuse. But we got to look at some of Depp's most embarrassing moments as well, and that's what this video is about. Before we get into the really juicy details, some background. Depp is suing Heard for libel, claiming that she falsely portrayed him in front of the world as a domestic abuser and seriously damaged his acting career. The claim centers around a 2018 op-ed Heard submitted in the Washington Post in which she made clear she was undergoing abuse but without mentioning Depp's name. Flash forwarding to the trial, Amber Heard testified for 2 days in Johnny Depp's libel lawsuit, her testimony coming only a month after Depp's 4-day one. While on the stand, Heard claimed Depp hit and abused her repeatedly, her testimony often becoming explicit too. She also spoke about Depp's drug abuse and alcoholism. The stories are shocking, to say the least. Not only do they paint Depp as a deeply troubled and violent man with drug problems, but also as an insecure partner. First off, a lot of shocking and embarrassing claims were made on the witness stand in this defamation trial. Today we're going to be taking a look at the actor's most embarrassing moments, mostly from the Depp and Heard trial, but some from outside this case as well. So let's get into it. The drug use. Substance abuse can be devastating, but the trial revealed both the actor's recklessly embarrassing levels of drug usage. In his direct testimony, Depp portrayed himself as someone who did use drugs and alcohol and went through a detox from opiates. But he made sure we all knew that he's not a maniac who was addicted to said drugs and alcohol. We wanted to believe him, we really did, but the defense destroyed these claims when they presented numerous examples where Depp had angrily lashed out at objects, which also includes walls and fixtures, when he was in a drug-induced state. Then there's the fact that Heard narrated several incidents of domestic abuse while Johnny was under the influence, and that's not exactly a good look, now is it? Texts with Paul Bettany. But Johnny Depp's substance abuse-induced temper tantrums weren't the only times we felt secondhand embarrassment for him. His texts with Paul Bettany were honestly the cherry on top. A string of texts between Bettany and Depp, who have acted in 3 films together, were read aloud in the trial where they joke around with the idea of drowning Depp's ex-wife Amber Heard to prove she wasn't a witch. Paul Bettany didn't appreciate having his and Depp's texts being read out loud in court during the libel case, he even went so far as to describe it as embarrassing. One of the less explicit texts written by Depp in regards to Heard was, "She's so desperate for success and fame, that's probably why I was acquired, mate." The texts were in fact pretty graphic and embarrassing. At one point, Johnny even refers to necrophilia and burning. Bettany says he didn't know Johnny before he got married to Amber. He knew him before that and wasn't here for any of the ensuing chaos that took place during their marriage, claiming the texts were taken out of context. Some of these texts were so horrific that they contributed to Depp losing the previous libel case. Whether the claims are true or not, it's kind of hard to simply ignore those messages and paint Depp as the good guy here. Depp was extremely remorseful about having sent those texts. He publicly apologized for having done so too, claiming that in the heat of the moment, he ended up in some very dark places and as a result said some dark things too. It wasn't just Heard either. Depp even went so far as to berate his ex-girlfriend Vanessa Paradis in said texts, referring to the mother of his 2 children as the French extortionist. The worst part about this is that Paradis actually defended Depp and refused any possibility of Heard's claims being true. Again, it doesn't shed Depp in the best of light to trash someone who went out of their way to defend you. An insecure partner? Then there's all these stories about Depp being an awfully insecure partner. According to Heard's testimony, once she and Depp were having a party in some desert with their friends sometime around when the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean was being filmed, one of the guests brought MDMA with him, and one woman put her head on Heard's shoulders, leaning on her, probably under the influence of the psychedelics she'd taken. Heard claimed that had upset Depp to the point that he violently snatched her arm and asked her, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist?" Apparently, Depp was insecure about the woman because Heard had previously been with a female partner. As for everyone else's reactions, well, they thought he was just fooling around. Ms. Heard continued to say that she and Depp then went to their trailer to talk things out privately. There, Johnny accused her of instigating the episode and also making up lies about her relationship to the woman, who Heard said she wasn't that familiar with. He then accused her of lying and proceeded to yell at her and break things in the trailer. A few moments later, he asked her, "Where are you hiding it?" as he searched the room. At the time, she had no idea what he was talking about. When she expressed her confusion, he started raging even more, this time patting her down, tearing off her clothes, and doing a full cavity search. Turns out, he was looking for cocaine. Imagine being that embarrassingly insecure. Heard continued her claim of Depp being an insecure partner by bringing up James Franco. She claimed that Depp didn't like her working with James, with whom she had had to film some intimate scenes on the set of The Adderall Diaries. We can't say with certainty whether these claims are true or not, but evidence has pointed to Depp definitely having drug problems, which this episode only confirms. Either way, these claims are pretty embarrassing. Johnny Depp, a wife-beater? Let's move on to the wife-beater accusations. While most of the stories about Depp's domestic abuse are harrowing, there are some parts that have us cringing in our seats as well. In court, a photo of a bruise on Heard's arm was shown, and she described the incident that supposedly caused it, claiming that Depp slapped her hand, and when she tried walking away, he managed to make things even worse. The Aquaman actress claimed the two then began shouting at each other. She also recalled feeling scared that he was going to hit her again, so she then picked up a vase and threw it at Depp. He reportedly hit her several times right after this. She even went so far as to paint the actor as a modern-day Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, claiming he had a very ugly and angry side that would come out sometimes. Depp, she further claimed, had a habit of passing out in his own vomit, losing control of his body, and having others clean up the mess, including her. The actress also said that Depp would get his act together and clean himself up before coming back to once again make her feel loved. Heard considered leaving Depp, but was unable to. A little awkwardness on set. Now that we've seen enough embarrassing moments from the trial, let's take a look at some of his embarrassing moments during filming. It sounds like a dream come true for most of us, but a big age gap made it pretty awkward when Johnny Depp had to kiss Keira Knightley during the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean. It was quite uncomfortable for Depp, whose age was 42 at the time, making him exactly twice as old as Knightley, who was 21. Intimacy on set can be quite awkward and forced. They also didn't have any intimacy coaches back then to smooth things out either. Everything about this situation was off-putting to Depp. He explained that when doing a scene of that sort, it's expected that it's going to always be unbelievably awkward, especially considering that he'd met Keira when she was 17 years old. We can definitely see why it must have been tough for him to look past all that. Fortunately, the whole situation wasn't so awful for Knightley, not even a little bit. She, unlike Depp, felt totally comfortable and went with the flow so well that even Depp was amazed by how much ease and professionalism the actress displayed. He said she was a good sport, and they simply did what they had to do. That's the job. Trouble remembering lines. To no one's surprise, that wasn't the only difficult scene Johnny had to film for the movie franchise. Turns out that the star had some trouble when it comes to remembering his dialogues. He kept a secret weapon in his ear before showing up to the set in his full costume, a part of which was an earpiece. Depp would regularly use a sound engineer whose job was to practically feed the lines to him through an earpiece. Since the actor was unable to keep up with his lines anymore and didn't want to look like he was missing a single beat, so he was forced to resort to this method, which is pretty surprising considering what an experienced actor the man is. Really committing to the role. Depp was super invested into his role for Pirates of the Caribbean movies. We have to admit, though, this was nothing less than a fashion statement. This happened after filming, but it wouldn't have happened had it not been for Jack Sparrow. The pirate has gold-capped teeth because, well, he's a pirate. But once they wrapped up the shoots, the actor still kept them, and not just by accident either. The actor wore them after the first and second movie, a strange choice definitely. When asked why he continued to show off the gold teeth, the actor claimed it was just in case reshoots were ever needed, but something tells us he enjoyed being Captain Jack Sparrow a little more than he let on. 21 Jump Street. Let's talk about 21 Jump Street. Depp doesn't really like to talk about this, even though this was the project that made him famous, and you're about to find out why. He equates 21 Jump Street to a creative prison, and seriously hated doing the job so much that he started actively trying to get himself fired by acting out and trashing his trailer. Complete disdain for that part of his career didn't prevent him from making a small cameo in the 21 Jump Street film with fellow actors Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. His career has had lots of highs and lows, but despite all of that, no one can deny that Depp has brought us some amazing performances and tons more laughs. The Kiss with Jimmy Kimmel. Who could possibly have forgotten when Depp made an appearance on the Jimmy Kimmel Show in 2013? Despite showing off a sparkling engagement ring on his finger, Johnny Depp remembers his past passion with Jimmy Kimmel. The Rum Diary actor was a guest on an episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live where Kimmel mocked heartbreak over Depp's planned marriage to Amber Heard. This is what Kimmel said when Depp returned to the show in 2016. "The last time you were here, 2013, we kissed, had some chemistry. And then the next thing I know, you're engaged," said Kimmel as he explained his feelings about the snub. "I feel bad about it, but I feel between you and I, it's an anything goes kind of thing," said Depp thoughtfully while he rubbed his mouth with lip balm, adding, "Oh, you're in." Kimmel said that he'd love to accompany them on the honeymoon, so Depp then actually promised Kimmel he would ask Amber if it was all right. After a little more back and forth between the two, Kimmel got what he wanted, however, and the actor leaned in and gave the talk show host a kiss on his face. Well, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more movie-related news. We'll see you next time.